be this much fun, but it just is, especially when you arrive at the virtual Alexandria for Aeon Byte. Welcome, you spiritual entrepreneurs, you veterans of 1,000 psychic wars, and you of the broken places. And for you who are watching on video, did video kill the podcast star? This is a promo for the virtual Alexandria Academy, and I put it up because there is a promo right now through January 1st. Get 30% off the virtual Alexandria Academy with the code solstice. That's it, solstice. It's on the show notes, and you'll get the entire virtual Alexandria Academy, a full course on Gnosticism, and it does include the 3 Astro-Gnosis presentations. So it's a total of like 40 hours of high quality Gnostic studies. So check it out. Yes, the promo is solstice. And my name is Miguel Connor. I am your Pompatus of Gnosis, that madman across the waters of creation. And I'm very excited today to be joined by Elistan Snowley. I call him Stephan. He is a friend, an individual who I've interacted a lot. Enjoyed hanging out with him at the last Astro-Gnosis conference, and it was just very cool. Stephan, thank you very much for coming on, finally.
Yeah, hello, Miguel. Yeah, thanks for the invitation. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about human design here today, as I'm really surprised that nobody did as of yet. So let's see.
It is indeed. I mean, I heard about it from my wife, loves it, and she told me maybe 6 months to a year, but my attitude is like, oh my God, I can't take another esoteric system. I'm overloaded, as you are with things, but she's found it very rewarding and fascinating. And with us too, we've got Graham Pong. Graham, how are you doing?
I'm doing very good, Miguel. I'm looking forward to designing some better humans, because when I look around, I don't see a lot of them out there. And hopefully we can actually design some better candidates too. Tag.
Yeah. Oh man, you're looking for miracles that even the one can't even do. And but maybe the $6 million man will come around eventually.
Shoot for the stars and settle for the moon. Yep.
Indeed. So awesome. I see a good crowd already appearing. And as always, if you have any questions for Stephan or complaints against Graham or myself, send them on a super chat. And of course, please support this heresy in any way you can. Like, subscribe. I take join the Patreon, one-time donations, and so forth. Let's keep the lights of the pleroma on as we go through as we do the holiday season slog, if you would, and some great shows coming out in December. This Friday, David Block will join us. It will be not a Black Friday, it will be a Block Friday, and he will be doing a decode of 2001: A Space Odyssey, so you don't want to miss that on Friday. Other than that, I think some more housekeeping later on, but I think let's get started. Let's get down to business. Well, Stephan, before we get down to business, tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you became a heretic.
Yeah, heretic, actually, the gateway for me was first science. So basically, I studied economics, and I became interested in astronomy and in physics pretty early in my life. And the interest in the esoterics developed in my 20s. It was this classic dark night of the soul stuff, right? So because nobody in my family has this deep connection to esoterica or religion or whatever, at least if I don't go far back in my ancestry. And yeah, alone the term heretic is so interesting, right? Because if we talk about human design, you will see that the heretic is one of the archetypes in human design.
Mhm.
Human design is a personality typing system, like Myers-Briggs or whatever, but it's most close to astrology. So I also started off with astrology. I was an astrologer since my mid-20s, when I was had read enough, because I'm a guy who needs to read enough to have a solid foundation.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I don't feel like I can help anyone. So I need a foundation for my heresy. And so I did 6 or 7 years of astrology, and then human design came to me. And at first I was really resistant, yeah, because all these esoteric systems are a heresy in and of itself. And you know that the most interesting systems are those where you feel a deep resistance,
Mhm.
where something tells you, hey, no, I've already gotten the truth, or at least the right system for me, which was Western astrology. And I didn't want to know of anything else on you. Yeah. But the experience gave me so much serendipity, synchronicities,
Mm.
and so much, yeah, gifts and confirmation that I had to go on this way. Yeah. So to dive deep into this heresy. So basically, what is a heretic anyway? I think hereticism has much to do with individualism,
Mhm.
much to do with wanting to understand this life. And also, and this is why this heretic type in human design is so interesting, or how design describes the heretic. Both you and me are heretics. I have done your design. Yeah. We just
Mhm.
secret because it's very personal. Yeah. But what the heretic has to do, it's basically some kind of teacher, or if you want to have it negatively connotated, a guru. But you have to be careful, because as a heretic, in all ages, you get burned at the stake, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Design says, if you're a heretic, be very careful. Yeah, act like some kind of Freemason, or what will you? Act like somebody who has the right timing for his heresy. But after he has spoken to the right people, then go back up to your mountain, because it's always dangerous to be a heretic. Yeah. And I think this is what this game of life is about. Yeah. The last book I have read, it was 7 Games of Life by Richard Smalley. Great guy, met him at the conference.
Yeah.
And he also uses this metaphor, which has become so common. This metaphor of video games, basically. Like seeing life as this game, as the simulation. And I think human design basically is the best system, like astrology, to describe the Maya. What is the Maya? How does the system work here? Yeah. And in this video game, there are rules. And if you're a heretic, one of the rules is, hey, better be careful. If you speak at the wrong time to the wrong people, you might get burned at the stake. Yeah. And some people, they don't want to accept, they don't want to have any limits. They just want to speak their truth all the time. Yeah. We might have done that in past lives, but it led to a kind of certain result, right? So we have become more careful, occultists, whatever. So this is what I can say about heresy.
And that's well said indeed. Yes, I know the the term heretic started out as school of thought. I think Josephus talks about the heresy of the Pharisee surgeons. In other words, it's a very niche school of thought. Then later with Christianity, it became like, oh, the Gnostics are a heresy. They're this niche school of thought, but it quickly became a negative thing because it means, away from the norm, very niche, and it became a pejorative term. And here we are, and I like what you said. It's what Stephan Heller told me, and it actually makes the Elvis book that what's the difference between a mystic and a madman? A mystic knows whom not to tell. He knows when to keep his mouth shut. And as the famous, I think, Joseph Campbell quote says, the psychotic drowns where the mystic swims. And here we are, Stephan, trying to swim, knowing when to keep our mouth shut most of the time.
Yeah, definitely. And this is also the bridge to Gnosticism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm here on Aeon Byte Gnostic Radio, and I love this radio station because I do a podcast in Germany on a radio station. It's called Radio Emergency, but it's mostly in German, yeah. And it's not all Gnostic themes, but you are really one of my epitomes for doing this podcast over in Germany. So, and Gnosticism is also a topic which is so closely related to heretics. Yeah. And this is, I think, Gnosticism is the school of thought where you most clearly can see what hereticism is all about and why this age of Aquarius, or the zeitgeist we are moving into, will be so difficult for communities, for tribal living, for cities, whatever you will. Yeah, because we are going into this age of individualism. And you see, heresy is also about individuation, about finding your own, basically becoming Lucifer or Christ, if you look from above or below, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Finding your holy angel or holy daimon. And you don't want to pray to anything else. Because I also come from ceremonial magic and telema, but I stopped it as I didn't want to pray to any external gods or entities anymore, right? And this is what Gnosticism is about, like really direct experience, knowing thyself, the Oracle of Delphi. And the challenge here is, because these church fathers, in their criticism of Gnosticism, not everything was wrong, right? Because they said, hey, the problem with Gnostics is that everybody of them basically wants to be their own guru with their own sect, their own cult.
Right.
And to me, this statement never was totally wrong. Yeah. Because there's some grain of truth to it.
Yeah.
Because you see, here alone in this community, Aeon Byte, there are so many great individuals here, so much intelligence, and not only intelligence from the brain, but also empathy, whatever. But could we do some kind of movement? Yeah, I don't think so, because we are all too individualistic. Yeah, it would be very hard to come to a common ground, which is not totally trivial or whatever. So I think there's the challenge, moving into this age of Hermes, age of Aquarius, which is so individualistic, and human design describes it most perfect with this age of the sleeping phoenix. The phoenix awakens, But this is individual awakening. You see, when you're on ayahuasca, you had this great lady some days ago, which was really amazing. She had a great vibe. You really knew she was through this intense experiences of iboga, what have you, right? And on this journey, you're totally alone. You always come to a point where there can be some guides, but you come to this abyss and there you're totally on your own. And I think this is the big challenge here. Yeah.
Yeah, no, well said indeed. Yeah, the Gnostics did call themselves the generation without a king. They were accused of being, crazy, self-centered, and of course, everything casts a shadow. There's always risks when you go inward, and even the term anarchism simply means without archons. That's what, without archons is a better world, but freedom, it has a price, and freedom is dangerous. So that's the choice you have to make, and I agree with you. And yes, as we were talking the other day, this is beyond just the age of Aquarius, but you were talking about Pluto going into Aquarius, which means what? The old systems are going to fall apart, right? We are really in a new paradigm.
Oh, the old systems have already fallen apart
already.
because
Yeah,
Pluto
just look around.
just went through Capricorn,
Mm.
which are old systems. Yeah, Pluto entered Capricorn in 2008. There the subprime crisis started, which hit you, the most powerful economic power in the world. And there it started. And yeah, then the European Union got busted and immigration crisis and what have you. And now the old systems, like since 2008, they are basically dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows we are in the zombie economy. And it's not different in the States or here over in Europe and Germany. It's just a zombie economy. It doesn't live, but it's still there, yeah, till whatever cataclysm will happen. And you see, when Pluto moves through a sign, every astrologer has his own heresy. But how I do understand it, and by the way, that's the great thing about design. Design is the original system where you have like a canon, yeah, where you say this is official. And astrology has so many schools that you really have to decide. But on Pluto, I'm pretty sure my interpretation is pretty close to what you might call truth. And when Pluto moves through a sign, he transforms the sign. So this is the special thing about Pluto. So when Pluto moves through Capricorn and now through Aquarius, he transforms every sign. And in human design, the signs are more differentiated into 64 gates. This is why design is much more focused on detail. So design is basically, if you really would look at the degrees in astrology, so very, very detailed because it comes from the I Ching, yeah, which has this 64 hexagrams. And now when Pluto moves through Aquarius, which is the sign of individualism, Pluto will change this. And Pluto will stay there till 2044 or something.
Oh, wow.
And with Aquarius, it's this zeitgeist, what I have just told a story about. The zeitgeist of individualism, the zeitgeist of communal support will fall away because everybody gets so self-centered on their personal script in this movie, in this game, that you're just too focused on your personal path to care for others or to really care like it was in the like it might have been in the past. But the thing about Pluto is Pluto transforms the sign. Yeah. So let's see how individualism transforms, how we can still live together as a family of humankind, even so we get so individualistic, even so we get so sucked into these archonic mirrors, which are screens basically, right? Like obsidian mirrors. Everybody gets so sucked into this, yeah? Elon Musk and what have you. But Pluto will transform this. But you have to see the basic dynamic is we will get more individualistic. And the basic dynamic is also every society, every family, every nation which doesn't have a really hard bond in its core will just bust, will just disrupt. And the only thing Pluto really supports, because Pluto is also occultism and Aquarius is also individualism and community. So you see, Aquarius is kind of this hermetic sign.
Right,
on the
right.
one hand, because Aquarius is the 11th sign of the zodiac, and you start with Aries, which is most immature, and then Aquarius, you're almost at the end. You're almost at Pisces. So it's very mature. So it's very individual. But on the other hand, you know, hey, there has to be some way from humankind, right? So Pluto's occultism, Aquarius is community and individualism, And what you then have is secret societies. So what the zeitgeist supports is secret societies. Now till the 2040s, right? Because most secret societies like the Golden Dawn, you can be very happy if they work for
Yeah.
a decade even, right? Because it's too powerful. Yeah. It's not a problem. This is the thing of secret societies. You have so strong energies that it just disrupts at one point. And this is the one thing which Pluto and Aquarius will support. And about the other things, we will see. I really hope it goes in a good direction. But you also see, and to come to human design, this is not a system which looks through glasses, but it more or less sees a dark age coming. Yeah.
Mm.
Not totally apocalyptic, but more on the dark side. And if I'm really realistic about looking out in the world, this is also what I tend to see coming. That that the cataclysm lies before us, and there has to be some kind of purge, or however you will call it. And afterwards, if we survive, okay, maybe the golden age. But first, I think it will get hard.
I agree with you. And again, the solutions are the same. Go inward, lean into it, adapt, and you'll actually do well and come out the other side. I mean, this is the cycles of time. It's the old must end, and we are in a new age, the age of Hermes, as I like to call it. And the next question I had for you is, what would you advise to prepare for these shifts? I mean, you're obviously not in a bunker in the middle of a desert with your guns and all that.
Yeah, guns are not allowed in Germany.
Oh, okay. Well, but I'm saying you're not preparing for the apocalypse that they tell us on television, because of course they're feeding us all this stuff like Mad Max, and even in the United States, when people say, oh, we're going to have a divorce, people think we're going to be out there with muskets on the fields of Gettysburg. It's like, no, this is going to be different and unique, and you just have to look for it. But what advice do you have for people to navigate these times?
Oh, really? Like, with the community here, Aeon Byte, everybody is so deep into esoterica. So they all know what to do. They all know that they can't just do what you have just said, and I can only repeat it. Like, look into yourself, finding your differentiation, your role in this movie. Yeah. Like, if you would ask me what system is human design closest to, or what guru or teacher did it most rely on, then it has to be Georg Gurdjieff. Yeah, it really has to be Gurdjieff, because Gurdjieff already talked about strategy and authority. Gurdjieff already talked about witness consciousness. I mean, Osho did so as well, very, very much.
Yeah.
But Gurdjieff described it in the most almost academic way. Yeah. And Gurdjieff said, hey, and Gurdjieff is very hard to understand, but human design is also so detailed, so it's very close in a sense. Yeah. And the only way is inward, because otherwise you can't go this way in the long run. You see why I don't worry is because I always have this perspective of into the eons, into eternity. And to come back to this brilliant book of Richard Smalley, yeah, 7 Games of Life. It was the last book I read, so I have to mention it.
Okay.
The last game of life is this master game, yeah. And if you are in this master game, if you see what lies in the end, so really the Atman recognizing itself, really, it might be thousands, even trillions of years
Mhm.
till I become a Buddha. But it will happen at one point in time.
Mhm.
And if once you go in this way, you have decided that, okay, all this other material reality, compared to this, the desire gets lost, yeah? The desire gets boring. So, whatever, right? Then all these things are laughable. They lose importance. They are no longer important because you see, you're in here for the long run. And you might just be incarnated here in this, okay, it's a very bad time, but I think if we have a video game, you could already say, okay, it could be much worse, right? You could directly incarnate in some kind of whatever prison.
Right,
And
yeah.
you also, I see so many people nowadays on the internet. I mean, there are some better forums like the better subreddits and Quora, where
Yeah.
people really ask intelligent questions, partly. But there are also so many people, especially young ones, I think especially young men, and not so young, but maybe 30, 35, 38, whatever. And on these forums, they're telling, oh, I'm 28 now and I haven't made anything of my life. What should I do? And I'm just thinking, wow, if this guy would just know human design or astrology, he would see how young he is. Like
Mhm.
what design basically wants to do, and what all good systems, esoteric systems, want to do, is stop this burnout society. Yeah, stop this burnout society where you just turned 30. So you only had your Saturn return. So it's just the end of childhood. And you're
Yeah.
already asking yourself, oh man, I have made nothing of my life because I see these fake stars who have gotten famous much too early and
Right.
then kill themselves at 40 because they are totally on the wrong trajectory, right? And human design says it's very radical there, that in the first half of your life, so before 40 till 45, before the Uranus opposition, you are breathing in, you are learning. And only at 40, 45, then you can start breathing out. Then you really have found yourself in this fractal of, okay, this is my part in the community. This is where I can mentor others, right? And this is also where I'm kind of humble, because I know what people know, and I also know, okay, I'm 30, I'm 34 now, but I also know, hey, I'm not even at the Uranus opposition, so I'm still breathing in. Yeah, I started pretty early breathing in, but
Mhm.
still, if I'm totally honest about myself, I know, hey, wow, Uranus opposition. When I start to breathe out, this will be great, but I'm still so young. And I'm seeing all these people like, oh man, I'm my mid-30s. I've made you didn't even have the chance to have a family or whatever. So how can you, or you haven't healed your core wound? Like the Chiron return is at 50.
Mm.
Before 50, and I see this in my readings, there's almost nobody who can really grasp his core wound, because he hasn't even the experience, yeah, to really look back on his life and see, okay, have I handled this differently now? So people want to avoid these limitations of cycles. And this is what astrology and human design tell you, yeah, teach you, that there's this limitation which Saturn and Uranus, especially the outer planets, give to us, yeah, these great cycles. And I don't really think you can get out of this. So this is where I know that many Gnostics will say, hey, and also these witches, right? They want to transcend all limitations because limitation is bad and I can invent myself. And quite frankly, I have to say that this is not my experience. Human design says the acceptance of limitation is the first step to transcendence. And this is my experience, that the transits of the moon, the transits of all the planets, this is the conditioning. But your birth chart what the archons gave you at your birth in this game of duality. So your character, it has very specific talents. And if you don't have a voice like Elvis, it might be very difficult to become somebody like Elvis. Yeah.
Right.
Because you're so, and this is this limitation where I think it's strange. The acceptance of limitation can give you some kind of freedom. Yeah. And I think here in this duality, there is limitation. If we are talking about this other Advaita level, okay, different case. But here, acceptance of limitation is the first step to transcendence, to transcendence.
Beautifully said. Very inspirational. And yeah, we need great advice. And I mean, I know it was Jung who said life doesn't start until after 40. Before that, you're just doing research. You're preparing.
Yeah.
You're doing what you need to do for your mission. And of course, it's different for everybody. Maybe your mission might start at 50, 60. Maybe it'll start early at 30. But again, there is that part where you are waiting and emptying yourself and gaining the skills for your mission here, which is important. Everybody has equally important mission for the restoration, Sophia's rescue operation, for our society, for our community. So I would agree with you. We might want to step back for the uninitiated and for the newbie like me to see what, for those who want to know what exactly human design is, because you've talked about it. But first, a little housekeeping. I have a project I want to share with the world, so I'm going to do the share screen. Where are you? Oh, StreamYard share screen. Where is the window? Okay, I hope you can see it. And yes, I don't really do crypto. I dabble in crypto, but I'm, again, almost a newbie. I accept crypto for donations for people who want to send it. That's the main thing. But I have I've started with a partnership on a new meme coin. Again, they are very hot right now. Crypto is extremely hot with the election and everything else. And this one is just not your regular meme coin. I joined this project because it has to do with Sophia, and it's a soul coin, and it's being launched this Friday, and I hope you guys can join it. We'll have a link on the show notes and all that for sure. And Sophia on Soul is just not another meme coin. It's a movement. It's really the first Gnostic coin. Dive into the arcane and explore the hidden mysteries of the universe with us. Sophia on Soul is the first and only meme coin of the Truther community. Join us to be part of the revolution. And here's the website. It's also on crypto. And check it out. Again, I wouldn't have joined unless something was extremely Gnostic, extremely honoring Sophia and all her wisdom, and of course something that will help us get over the archons, if you would. So check out Sophia on Soul. Again, I'll have it on the show notes. And again, like you're talking, Stephan, doing stuff that confuses the archons. It's on the niche that rides a wave but doesn't, and I think this is something that will certainly do it. So check out Sophia on Soul, and we'll start this. Sophia is in the crypto world officially. All hail wisdom. So now that I've said that little
this might really be the first meme coin I buy, because this is really Pluto and Aquarius. Pluto and Aquarius is also crypto. Like, crypto is basically financial secret society.
Yeah, exactly.
So, hey.
Exactly. So and I'm going in again. I dabble with crypto. I just use it for when people want to donate. But this is a project, like you said, Pluto. This is Pluto and Aquarius. This is anarchy at its best. So. But, before that, we get into sort of the 101 of human design, just for those who are here who want to know. Graham, what do you think about what we're talking about? We're heading as humans. What say thouest?
Well, I think we're kind of heading over a cliff, but
That's it. Yeah, you're like, I'm out.
I came to that conclusion in 2020 with COVID. It's like we're being driven over, being driven over a cliff. A couple of thoughts on what we've been talking about is I see an inherent relationship between dogma and heresy. You're not going to have heresy until you have dogma. And the point in throwing out Gnosticism is it inherently directly connects the individual to God, bypassing things like, priests and bishops and all that. And if you're going to have a church hierarchy, you can't have people just jumping the ladder going to God directly. I was going to ask Stephan here if he had ever read Hermann's Hesse Das Glasperlenspiel, the glass bead game. If he hasn't, I think he would very much enjoy that.
Oh yeah, of course I have read Hesse Siddhartha and Damien and Steppenwolf. Actually, Glasperlenspiel, I have not read.
Same here. I've read all those except that one.
Yeah.
That's
Didn't even
basically
know this was Hesse,
that's his end, like his end masterwork. That's the one he ended up winning the Nobel Prize for Literature for. After that,
okay.
So.
Yeah, the last one is always the best one. It's like with Castaneda. You only have to read the last one, then it's like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to quote Vanessa Williams just to piss people off. You save the best for last, but oh, excuse me. Somebody attacked me for daring to do that. Some Archon attacked me for quoting this, but no, we'll definitely check it out. Excuse me. Here, Stephan, tell us about human design and its origins. Most people think it's just a hodgepodge of different traditions thrown into one. Would they be right?
And I can totally understand this because, as I told you at the beginning, I also had so much resistance against it. It was like Osho at the beginning. Like even before astrology, I started out with Osho. And I read this guy. And, in my teenage days, because I told you I studied economics, really in my German teenage days, I read books of Donald Trump. Yeah. And his philosophy of Norman Vincent Peale and think positive.
People forget Trump is the biggest New Ager manifester out there. That's how we got
but it's this new thought stuff, right?
Yeah,
it's the stuff of your mind controls everything, and you have to control your mind. And this is why, in the meantime, I'm convinced that human design is superior to astrology, and that it will, I think in 20 years, more people are doing design than astrology. Because I see, at first, I also had resistance against human design, but there was so much synchronicity, Carl Gustav Jung, that I had to take it up, go to school, learn about it. And what human design does compared to astrology is, the problem with astrology is that astrology doesn't get you out of your head. I know many astrologers in Germany, people who have done astrology their whole life, but they are so mental. They are not embodied. They are not in their body because it's just this academic science. You can really make a science out of astrology, and this is the problem, that these people don't seem centered. And what human design does is it really gets you into this witness consciousness, like this was the whole target of Osho and Gurdjieff, to get people into this witness consciousness. And human design tells you individually, okay, this way for you would work best to get into witness consciousness. Because you see, this is my personal heresy, because what you asked me is, hey, human design, it's just some hodgepodge, mambo jumbo, everything in one cauldron. It is a channel system. So Robert Allen Krakauer, a Canadian, he channeled the system. And this was also the reason why at first I said, okay, another one.
Another one, yeah. The
with
stone
the
tablets
Pleiadians.
came
Yeah,
from the
yeah.
sky or something.
Of course. And I think there are only a few channelings which are really of worth. Yeah? Like even with Crowley, I think the man is, I'm like Milo the Cat. I think you don't want to know him personally, but he did some great work.
Yeah, you
and
don't
was
want
a
to go to
mystic
dinner
as
with
well
him.
as a magician. And the Book of the Laws, just the most beautiful invocation we have. It just has so much power, aside from the information there, but it's just the beauty of the text. And so like this channeling, which Alan Krakauer received, it's so incredibly detailed. Like you experience just convinced me. And then because I had so much resistance, and this is also personal heresy, I asked my tarot like 1,000 times about human design. I asked my tarot, like, what is this? What entity was this? What he was channeling? I mean, could have been the devil or whatever, or some demon. And the tarot always showed me two things. It showed me the high priestess, mostly the high priestess, So, and this is why I think human design, you can make the connection to Gnosticism. Because the highest goddess, Barbelo, Sophia, Gnosticism, she's basically, what is she in the most abstract form? For me, she is just the form principle. She's the principle of form. She's this yin force in the universe. This yin force. So how does duality get created? And human design, the founder, Alan Krakauer, he only called it human design so people would understand. But it's basically the design of forms, of plants, of animals, of immaterial objects, and then of humans. But it's basically how forms are designed, how forms do work. And this is what Sophia is for me. So the only explanation for me, how he could get so detailed knowledge about how these archetypes here work is, okay, it must have been some part of Sophia, of the higher wisdom, of the higher feminine wisdom, which comes from Gaia. So he would more be on the side of Sophia equals Gaia, right?
Yeah. Which is fine.
Yeah, totally. And the other thing my tarot showed me, by the way, was the tower. So the high priestess and the tower. And this is something I didn't understand until I was in design 6 or 7 years, because this is a force of a Saturn cycle. Like then you're really deconditioned, they say. And the tower for me always was like, oh, okay, maybe the system is Martian, or it's not good, or whatever. And then I understood, okay, human design wants to lead you to your inner authority. And this inner authority can be this is where the male part, the Martian part, comes into this. And also Sophia, because we have this image of Sophia, like of angels, of this holy whatever. But you also know, you can also describe the goddess as Ashira, or as Sekhmet. And then she's also very furious. So she has this, characteristics of the tower, of Mars even, these characteristics of Horus. So it's always both. So it's the description of the form principle, but if you start to live from your own authority, like for me, it's this pulse of my emotional wave, then you get very, very radical about the people you let into your life. You get very radical on this path of individuation, but you get closer to the people who are really on your fractal. You get closer to the people who are really your soul tribe or what have you, right? But basically, I can tell you, it only convinced me through doing first readings of myself, my family, because the family you know best, right?
Right.
So, and if it's so detailed on your family, you say, hey, and then you experience it every day. And I always have this skepticism in me about
Right.
confirmation bias. You always have to have it, but it convinced me otherwise. And yeah, this is how I get into the whirlwind of human design. And
So, what steps did you take? I mean, obviously, human design has the 5 distinct human design types: manifestor, generator, manifesting projector, reflectors. There's element types. There's a lot, but this the I don't want to say the climax. The centerpiece is the chart. Is that what you create? Is that what takes you on the journey, or tell us more?
oh yeah, it's basically like if you show somebody a horoscope. Yeah, I mean, in a moment we can look at the current chart, for example. So at a child who might have been born just now, just today, on the 25th of November. And like a horoscope, you have all these houses, and sun sign, the sun sign is just one part. And you have this very abstract picture, right? Which you can't interpret at the beginning. But what you do as a reader is you really contemplate the thing. And after contemplating it for some time, yeah, looking at it, then looking away, doing something else, after some time, you really get the alchemy about what is the individual key for this person. So design is much about keywording, because you see, design is also called really the selfish way to enlightenment, because it says, and I'm so happy you mentioned C.G. Jung, design says the era of gurus is at an ending. Yeah.
Oh.
Because people see that this guru stuff doesn't work. Because gurus only tell you their own personal story of success. Like Osho tells you about all his experiments of swimming through rivers and close to some kind of whirlwind or whatever, because he has this channel of initiation, which is basically all about all extremes. Yeah, I just want to live through all extremes,
Right.
but all his friends might have died. Yeah, you look at Ramana, the great saint from Arunachala. Ramana only sat there in his peace. Yeah, he was basically the mountain and him, they were one. And you look at his design and you see, okay, he just has the mountain gate is basically like 4 or 5 times into sun and what have you. So it's he couldn't do any else. He just had this presence of, hey, relaxation, stillness, yeah. But does it work for anybody else? I don't think so, yeah. You look at Eckhart Tolle, he has all these channels who keep you totally in the now and who are totally about letting go. So
Right.
of course this guy can let go, but can I let go? So for me, I also have many of these mountain gates. So I can sit in silence for hours. But for others, I would say it's even totally unhealthy. They should go to nature and go to the forest or do sports or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So I think this age of gurus is ending, because with every guru, if you have Krishnamurti or Osho or even Gurdjieff, yeah, he had great students, but I don't think anybody of them has reached this master level, or what you will call it, because they can just tell their personal story. And this is the problem here. And people are beginning to see this more and more, that I don't want to follow somebody's personal story, personal success story about what has worked for him. Like even Trump and Tony Robbins and all these positive thinking guys, which I really despise, to be honest. Yeah. It might have worked for them. Okay.
Right.
It might have worked for them to control the mind, because Miguel, you and me, I saw your chart. We have an open mind. Human design is basically about what chakras, because the chakra system is also implemented into it, what chakras are defined, so there you have consistent energy, and what chakras are open. And open is not bad, it just means you're very receptive there. So you're receptive to all the thoughts and ideas and whatever is in the Akasha Chronic flowing around, right? So we are like this cauldron, which is so receptive for every idea and every dogma and every belief flying around. But if we try to find security up in our mind, it just leads to more confusion, because our security comes deep from the root, from the sacral, from the solar plexus, yeah, but not from our mind. And I think somebody like Tony Robbins, I'm sure he has a defined mind and a defined will center, so he has much willpower. And for him, controlling the mind works. But if we force ourselves to control our mind, yeah, with a horoscope, a design like this, it's like if we force somebody with attention deficit disorder to sit in silence. It's just torture. And also all this attention deficit stuff. And so for me, it's just people not living their design, not living their individuality, being forced into something which doesn't work. Because like the cancer on this planet is homogenization, yeah, conditioning. And this is why we are Gnostics, why we are heretics, because we don't accept this, yeah.
Oh, I love it. So basically, human design allows you to find your soul journey or path, your exact where you need to be, what you need to use, all that, because we're all different. That's why it's superior, because it's telling you what you need that only works for you. Gee, how novel. Why didn't anybody think of that in thousands of years?
They have thought about it. It's astrology, basically.
Yeah.
The problem with astrology is just that astrology is much more abstract. So astrology gives you this nice story about, hey, you're Virgo ascendant with Aquarius moon. So, and you can tell this nice stories about what god or goddess you might be, or how you generally live your life, or what have you. But it doesn't give you a real pragmatic key for, hey, how should you make decisions? Yeah. For a Libra, you can basically say, okay, you're just, you can't make a decision. You're just always on this. The Libra is never perfectly balanced. Yeah. Like me. And human design told me, hey, your authority is emotional. So wait for emotional clarity. And it takes as long as it takes. And this works every time. And it eliminates resistance. It gets you back into the flow. Yeah. So human design is just much more pragmatic than astrology. But astrologers have, like, this was the first breakthrough for me. Getting away from gurus, getting through astrology. First understanding, okay, this is an individualistic journey where only I have the key for myself. But the keys of others do not work, of course. And like you say, Miguel, it's so obvious that it's almost, you see how big this homogenization field is, right? That you can't even fall for this trap, because it's so obvious that you have to see the setup of the other person who wants to teach you. You have to see the setup of Tony Robbins to see if the system can really work for me, or if this is something which will only work for him, because he is just the willpower dude who will just push through, even so it makes no fun. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Well, let's pull up the chart. Before we do that, let's bring in Graham. Graham, do you have a question or remark about human design?
Yeah, I was curious. Does it predict which Hogwarts house you belong to?
Oh, yeah. Gryffindor?
Yeah.
Exactly. Hufflepuff. I was also going to throw in that, if you read closely, Buddha never really wanted to be a guru. He told people, don't write down my words. It was after he was dead that they decided to turn him into one. Tag.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
you can
course.
say the same thing about Jesus. Jesus never wrote anything
Yeah.
down in any tradition. He was,
Yeah, and then it always gets diluted. But it's a hard question. I think they were the right persons or avatars for the time, right?
mhm,
Especially phenomenons like Jesus Christ or Buddha. I think they were just the zeitgeist incarnated at just the right moment to give the whole of humanity some shift.
mhm,
And human design is really, human design says the point where Uranus got discovered, where Uranus started to get influence on humanity, there our system changed. Now we are nine-centered beings. So much of the old yoga schools don't work anymore. And I get closer and closer to the conclusion that this might be true. That there is some truth in ancient systems, but you always have to go with the zeitgeist, really, to see what works now, or what kind of Buddha, what kind of avatar should incarnate now. And it would be a totally different quality. It would be more of an Aquarian, unique quality. Somebody preaching individualism or what have you. Yeah. And by the way, C.G. Jung also said, like, he could have been a guru and he didn't, right?
yeah. He
So
said
he
it. I
knew.
could have been the leader of a religious movement that I wanted to. And he decided, no, I'd rather just write down information and study it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And yeah, that makes sense. And also, well, right before we get to the chart, so that makes sense. You got to follow the zeitgeist. So, for example, you and I have had conversations about Ola Wolny, and I love her work and the idea of the stars being completely archonic and the moon, of course, being fake, and all that stuff. And again, I think she's well, she's hitting the hammer a lot of the times. And of course, I've talked to Ola. She stayed with us, and we all met her at the Astronosis. But what do you think about that? That astrology is just could be wrong, and even the ancient Gnostic says it was definitely evil, but we have to study it, but we can't trust it at the end of the day too much.
I understand where she is coming from. You have to see she's one of these, I want to say witches, but positively connotated, which wanna like destroy any kind of limitation.
Mm-hmm.
So you come to a conclusion of everything being archonic. And they're kind of on the opposite side. Not totally, because I understand. Because human design also says in the core we are dark matter. We are not even the witness, but that which is active in deep sleep, yeah? Really, Ramana was not too bad. Like, Advaita is great. I come from Advaita.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really, so what you are, think about deep sleep. There is not even the witness, and this is what you are. And this thing is not it's not limited, right? It's like the God we don't talk about.
All right.
And he doesn't need any worship because he just doesn't care. Yeah. So, but here in this dualistic world, where we are incarnated as Stephan and Miguel, I think to be successful, whatever this means for you on this relative plane, in this duality, in this video game, then you have to understand your limitations, right? So no limitation, and this is a level, so you, after many doses of Iboga, maybe, right? Then you can think about this, yeah? Then you
Yeah.
can go back to a deep sleep, but why should you when you are incarnated in this duality? And, you know, about Vedic astrology and human design, you see, human design, you could even say it doesn't despise the moon as much as Gurdjieff or Olavolny. So because the moon is the form principle here, like it's like this chart of human design, which we will see in a moment, it's very close to the Kabbalistic tree of life. And I think all the stuff about the moon being evil, it got misunderstood. I think it's just, if you see this tree of life, it's just the moon is this dream consciousness just above our solid world, where everything gets made into form. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's basically really this feminine aspect which creates the form. So the moon is very closely connected to the form principle. And also in the Kabbalistic tree of life, it's in the middle axis. Of course, the sun is above it. Yeah. Yeah, of course, the holy guardian angel is above the moon. But nevertheless, here on this plane, I don't see the moon as evil. Yeah. And I also see that Vedic astrology is basically lunar. So, because you surely know that Vedic astrology and Western astrology, you can't get them in balance. There are too many dichotomies. Yeah, there are too many paradoxes.
Mhm.
Yeah, like in Western astrology, you're a Taurian, and I see very much Taurus in you. And in Vedic, you would be Aries. I don't know if you must hide it very well. And Vedic astrology doesn't interpret Aries much different than Western astrology.
Oh.
So what I think is, in Vedic astrology, there surely is something. I will not disregard it completely, because Vedic astrology also invented the nodes of the moon, like the head and tail of the dragon. And human design also uses these. These are so the most fateful points in every horoscope, because they are your environment and how you look at your environment. So there's something to Vedic astrology, but it's basically lunar in nature. And I think all the solar stuff got into Vedic astrology later. So I think it really got corrupted, if you will, because they tried to implant something into it, which it wasn't. Because India is a hot country, and there you surely don't worship the fucking sun if it kills you. You worship the moon.
Right.
Yeah. This is why it's so lunar. They have all these lunar houses which work. But if you implement the solar zodiac into this, you get very confused. And I really try to see, again, if this is confirmation bias. I made horoscopes of my friends, family in Vedic for myself. Just doesn't fit. Just doesn't feel authentic. Just doesn't feel like myself. Yeah, there's something to it, but hidden. In the moon, the nodes of the moon, there are different subcharts. And surely a good Vedic astrology could come to the same conclusions. I think with human design, it's easiest to find the key if you can read it, because human design can tell you how should you make decisions. Like in your case, your sacral authority. For you, it's always like what Yoda said in Star Wars: do or do not.
Yeah.
Yeah. For you, it's always yes or no. This is very, very simple. Yeah. So, and I know you have experimented a bit with it, so maybe you can tell, right? So, but and it gives you this decision-making strategy. And I think if you wanna get free, whatever this means, it's about making the right decisions. Because here in this duality, for a strange kind of reason, like in the song The Riddle, yeah, for a strange kind of reason, there's a right and a wrong. And this is a paradox, because we all know on this Advaita, Ramana, who am I level, right and wrong doesn't exist anymore. But here on the Stephan Miguel level, it exists. If we don't want to have too much rejection and getting out of the flow, right? So this is that.
Well said indeed. Well, let's bring up the chart. I think this one, which one? This one's mine, right?
Yeah.
No, wait.
No.
Okay, don't worry. I was okay. This is the baby that was born today.
Yeah.
So what does this little guy have to deal with? What is this little guy looking at?
Oh, yeah. Actually, this is the cross of duality. So you see on the right, on the left, we have all these numbers, gates, which are basically the planets in astrology. And why I love human design so much is because if you are really deeply into the esoterics, then it confronts you with the problem of duality, with the problem of, you see, you have the personality on the right-hand side, and this is like the positions of the planets at your birth. Like today, the 25th of November. And at the left, you see this design square. And this is the position of the planets 88 days before your birth. So this is one round of Mercury, or approximately 3 rounds of the moon around Earth or the sun. And so human design uses 2 points. It not only uses the point of your birth, but also this point approximately 90 days before your birth. And it says, this point is your design. There your soul gets into your body and you are really alive, or what have you. And this is your unconscious intelligence. And then when you get born, the second thing happens. So it uses this juxtaposition of things. And this is where the basic paradox starts. Why I say that people who are deeply into the esoterica have to love human design. Because in every chart, there's this inherent conflict of what your personality wants and what your design wants. Because your personality is basically the thing which is babbling all the time, which wants to control life, which is your mind, which believes this and that and what have you. But your design, this is your unconscious intelligence. Here in the chart, it's in red, like that the red channels or gates are your design, and everything which is white, this is your personality. And you think you're only your personality. You think you're only that. But you also have this unconscious intelligence. You have this intelligence which is so deeply ingrained into your DNA that you are almost not aware of it. But others are, because others feel your aura, right? So human design is the science of auras. Human design also tells you, hey, listen to what others say about you, because it might be true. Because they feel your aura. They not only know your personality, but they feel what you yourself might have forgotten. And this is where this basic conflict already happens. That you have this personality, what you think you are, but you also have this design. And this design gives important clues to how your body wants to make decisions, yeah? But then they are a juxtaposition. So what we see in this chart is, if we have 2 centers connected via a channel, then these centers get defined. And if a center is not connected via a channel, then it stays black, like in this chart, or undefined. And where you are undefined, there you are open. Like this person has this black center in the middle. This is the identity center. So this person would be a brilliant actor because it has no fixed identity. It can mirror others' identities, yeah? Like Elvis, who was also very open, had also an open throat. So then you can copy, then you can mirror. But if you have an open chi, you're a brilliant actor, because you can, or a theropod, you can mirror others, but you have no own fixed identity. You're very dependent on place, time, and the people you are with, yeah? But then this person also has the sacral directly connected to the throat. We are this one channel, yeah, which goes up on the left. And this is the position of the sun and the earth right now. This is the sleeping phoenix channel. This is why I use this current chart, because it shows the quality of the zeitgeist we are moving into. Because the sleeping phoenix is really the most empowering channel, because it goes from the sacral directly to the throat. So these are people who always want to directly act, but you have to see the sacral always reacts. The sacral shouldn't initiate, and this is the basic teaching of human design. that 95% of people shouldn't initiate by themselves, but wait for synchronicity, wait for serendipity, wait for some kind of, some kind of bird flying by, some kind of signal. Wait for something which tells you, hey, now is the time. And then if your sacral opens, so if there's a yes from your body, then you can go in, but not before. Yeah. And you see, this person has also other defined centers. Yeah. Also the willpower center and the solar plexus on the right, and then the head center and the ajna get defined at the top. So it's like there are conflicting entities on the inside, yeah, struggling over who has the most power. And the learning for this person would be, because it has a defined emotional center. This is the one at the right in brown. That this person should always sleep on decisions and wait for clarity, because waiting for clarity always lessens the resistance. So to make it extreme, really never be spontaneous, because if you wait for clarity, it always gets clearer. Not 100%, but almost. And so we see the decision-making strategy. And this is a process of deconditioning. So even if this chart is inherently complex, yeah, and you can go indefinitely deep into it, the quintessence is very, very easy. The quintessence is follow your sacral, follow the signals, the serendipity, and wait for your emotional wave. Yeah. But anything else, it will automatically you will understand if you just could follow this, if you just could follow your body, and if you would just stop making decisions with the mind, because nobody should make decisions with the mind, even if the ajna is defined, like in this case. But the mind is outer authority. It's for others. It's for sharing. It's for communication with the right people in the right place. This person is also a heretic. Yeah. It's this little green 5 you see at the top. Yeah. At the top right, this little green 5 after the point. So this makes him a heretic. So being on the mountain, only sharing with the right people, being careful, because familiarity breeds contempt. Yeah. So not being the guru all the time. And all these gates you see, and this magic square, because design really calls it a magic square. It's like in astrology. Every planet can be exalted or in detriment. So every planet on every position can have a very high frequency or a low frequency. And you're always pivoting between both. And for human design, it's not about, and this is what I like about human design, because it's a little, you might even say, not evil, but balanced. Yeah, it's really about balance. For human design, it's not about always living the exaltation, but it's about seeing, okay, the sleeping phoenix channel. On the one hand, it always wants to do it. It's just way too fast, which might be the detriment. And the exaltation might be, okay, always waiting for the perfect moment, but perfection also doesn't exist. So what is the balance here? So with each of the centers, with each of these gates, channels, you could see the exaltation and the detriment. And you could see in a reading where the balance might be. Yeah. And then the process starts. But even if it looks so complex, the basic task is always what Gurdjieff said: becoming the passenger, becoming the witness, witnessing what your body tells you. Yeah. And for this person, it's basically emotions. Yeah. Witnessing your emotions, witnessing how, your emotional wave goes up and crashes. And then you will reach a plateau after some time. And then there's clarity. And if somebody would meditate a lot or would spend very much time in nature, he might come to the same conclusions because he's already very embodied. But human design gives the mind something to understand this. And I think this is good for Westerners because we want to understand. Yeah. We want to understand what this is about. And most people want to manifest. Most people want to be Tony Robbins, Donald Trump, Andrew Tate, Jordan Peterson, whatever.
Right.
I mean, Jordan Peterson might be the best one of these. Yeah. And most people want to be these manifestors, these alpha males or whatever.
Right.
But most people have an active sacral and 50% have also an emotional center. And this means you're magnetic. This means like, hey, wait for the invitation. It doesn't have to be official, but wait for life showing you something before you just want to manifest something which just doesn't lie on your path. Just follow the signals, yeah? So it's so closely connected what C.G. Jung said about archetypes and synchronicity and individuation, yeah? Because I could talk for hours about every gate, but this is not the topic here. And also Gurdjieff, becoming the witness. What does it mean to wake up from your sleep? It does mean becoming aware what is happening, what your body wants to do. And the problem is because deconditioning is, really like it's a Saturnian cycle. You need 1/4 of a Saturnian cycle, 28 years, so 7 years, to really decondition if you are heavily conditioned from family, peer groups, whatever. And this deconditioning process tends to be painful because it just is. It's just what awakening is, right? So how did all of us come to Gnosticism? I suppose it's through some kind of dark night of the soul, depression, what have you.
Yeah.
And at first it's always like, okay, I really don't want this. I had resistance as well. And then after 3-4 years, then you get to see the rewards. You get to see, okay, this is the apple tree I have planted, nice. But the first half is always like, okay, cool.
Yeah, got to do the work. Yeah, this is wonderful. So if to do human design, what do you do besides the studying and the work? You go to the website, fill in your information, do the books. What advice do you have? Or do you immediately give your will to some guru and pay him $29.99 a month? Which way?
Yeah. With design, it's like astrology. And basically with all esoterica, I think the problem with esoterica is always that you need some time to understand these ideas because it can always become dogma if you are not educated. And this is why every kind of experience you have into, or every work you have done in some other system, I Ching, ceremonial magic, tarot, whatever, yeah, it helps because all these systems are somehow coherent, somehow related. And for me, human design is just the most detailed one. So the problem with design is, like with astrology, that there are many people out there who have this one awakening experience, and then they seem to be farther than they really are. Yeah, because especially things like 5-MeO DMT and what people are taking today, they can give you this enlightenment elevator. Yeah, and also like this cosmic transits. I mean, it's really, it's also very positive, but you have to be careful. And for me, I'm so looking forward when I'm 40, but I know I already have studied astrology since 21. So at least in design, I have done my work. Yeah, I have done 7 years. I have trained
Wow.
with Lavina Archers at IHDS. Design even has this international high school where there are teachers who have learned directly from Ra.
Wow.
So it doesn't get diluted. And this is what I like so much about human design, because I think, like, wasn't it from you have to create your own system or be slave to another man? It sings,
William
was it
Blake.
Drake?
Yeah.
William Blake, right?
Yes.
This is totally true. But the important thing, and this is Saturn basically, is like you have to be respectful. This is also what Crowley teaches, and there I'm with Crowley. Like, before you transcend a system, you have to understand it.
Yeah.
And most people wanna directly transcend it. So, this is limitation, no, I transcend. I don't think that's the right way. I
No,
think
it's
first
like
you have to.
it's like what Gordon, when I asked Gordon White, well, what about chaos magic? It's also supposed to be a
Yeah.
hodgepodge of things. He's like, well, when I went to film school, I wanted to be the next Stanley Kubrick,
Of
and
course.
my films were terrible. Only when I started studying the mechanics, the history, then I could go on and create something original. But first, I had to learn the system and obey
Yeah.
the system.
Yeah, first you have to create the foundation.
Yeah.
And then, when you really have understood it, then of course you want to create your own heresy,
Right.
because we are all on this path of individuation. But since Ra created he was a genius, really, he was a genius. And in the meantime, I have to say, it's really like, he's for me on a level with Osho and all the other guys I deeply respect, Ramana, Nisargadatta, because he was a genius in his own right. He had a brilliant, brilliant mind. Yeah. And even so that human design is such a mindy system, because the mind likes it, it really gets you into the body. Yeah. It really tells you, hey, it doesn't matter if your mind doesn't work, because you don't need it anyway for decisions. Yeah. So this is the great thing. But you have to have this foundation, this solid foundation. And yeah, there are not too many people out there, at least not in Germany, who have the solid foundation, because they want to make their heresy before they have the solid foundation. And this is kind of dangerous, because we lose so much value there, right? And this is why when I do my readings, I'm very, very close to Ra and Lavina, with whom I learned. Yeah. But of course, I have my personal concentration, my personal way of magic. I let flow into it. And also because I come from tarot and astrology and all these things, right? So this cauldron process is very, very fascinating. But I think it's important to have this solid pyramid. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah. We definitely see eye to eye. And I don't see any super chats. Nobody have any questions right now. This is your time. Graham, do you have a question or a remark for Stephan?
I was just going to say, I tend to go with the exception rather than the rule. Is some of my favorite artists and creators, their favorite works of theirs for me are the ones that they did early in their career before they knew all those rules. And they broke a lot of those rules, but they made it work because they were flying half off of intuition. To me, it's that liminal space between knowing the rules and living outside the rules is where, creativity and art emerges from. What are your thoughts, Stephan? Tag.
Oh, yeah. I think there are some people who are just natural talents. Yeah. So this is also another archetype in design. This would be a line 2. We had the line 5, a heretic. And if you are line 2, like these lines, these profiles are basically like the role attached to you at this world stage. And if you know how to play this rule, it works better for you. Yeah. And like the natural talent, he has to be like in a hermitage. He has to be very reclused to make these brilliant works of art. And then someday somebody else will discover him, because he himself, in most cases, doesn't see this kind of talent. So I assume the people you're talking about, like I think, for example, Salvador Dali was a line 2. And yeah, he just has this natural gift of expressing something very individual. Yeah. But if you are an investigator, line 1, then you really have to investigate first, because there's just this natural talent is not there. And it's not about better or worse. Yeah. Even so, natural talent is supposed to be pretty good. But these people, they have to be very reclused, because otherwise they get the wrong connections in their life. So I think Elvis might also have been a line 2, but I'm not totally sure.
He didn't
right
know
now.
how to read music or anything. He just picked up instruments for church, and that was it. So, yeah, he had very little training.
Yeah, and I just Elvis also had, unfortunately, we haven't had this chart here, but it's too abstract anyway. So Elvis also has this truth channel, or the truth gate, like the 61, which is occult knowledge. But in this gate, and there you see how detailed human design is, in this gate he has the line 2. So he had a natural talent and natural brilliance for recognizing the truth and for the esoterica and occultism. But as he is a line 2, he didn't show this. He was very private about this. Like, there was no need. He only showed it if somebody really broke his barrier. So really in the private life. But other than that, he just used this natural brilliance to through his voice or whatever, but not showing off. Yeah.
And on the other
this
hand,
is what a guru is all about.
Yeah, they're very true, very true. On the other hand, you have somebody like David Bowie and Brian Eno, who spent years doing music the way it should be done, being producers, you know what I mean? And then in the late, they just go crazy with, atmosphere and experiments and all that. So that's the other side, where you follow the rules, like you said, and then you just like, I'm going this way now.
Yeah. There are two things. On the one hand, it's the archetype, but generally you could say first you have to understand the rules to break them.
Yeah.
If you are not a natural talent, basically.
Very true. Well, as we get further closer to the end, of course, there's so much. We could spend hours. Like you said, it's a complicated thing. I need to look at the chart you sent me and go from there. But what the question I am interested in is, how does human design approach the idea of free will and destiny, or does it? And how do you approach it?
Yeah, this is from our private talks, that this is basically the question which I ponder for decades.
Same
I
here.
think. Yeah.
Same here.
Because yeah. And it's you tend to get closer to some kind of truth. And I think it's really about what Kabbalists call these different planes. Like, it depends on the plane.
No.
I'm kind of convinced that if we look on this master plane, like Nisargadatta, that it's really this block universe. Like, Nisargadatta always described this as a block. Like, the future is as determined as the past. And I think there's, on this master level, this might be some kind of truth where you really understand that there is a level where everything had to happen as it happens. Yeah, I'm deeply convinced, because I feel most resonance to guys like Nisargadatta, who really transcended the witness. And they all said it's basically predetermined. But on the other hand, as we are Gnostics and as Westerners have a different approach, if we want to do any kind of magic, then you have to accept the idea of free will, because otherwise it just makes no sense. Yeah, this game, this whole video game here, if we play duality, it makes no sense without free will.
Right.
It just because you can't just lean back and let go. You can't just do the Eckhart Tolle trip, right?
Right.
So, but if we are playing this game of duality here, we have to believe in free will. And there's a very interesting quote by, I don't know if he's known in the American regions, but Johann Gottlieb Fichte. It's a German philosopher. Yeah, idealism, I think. And he said, man is free, but he has to know it. And this quote I found very interesting, because basically what he said, so yeah, you're free, but like before Enlightenment, I mean the movement Enlightenment in the 1800s, people didn't know it, yeah, and also it was much too mental. But and I think it's like what human design and Gnosticism give us, yeah. It's like it can show us where there is our free will in this matrix, where we can choose as characters, where there are different timelines. So I actually believe in different timelines. Of course, they are there. There's just one level where even these timelines will get transcended, yeah? Where every timeline did happen on what have you, and time doesn't exist anyway. So, but if we are here in this matrix, if we are playing this game, and if we are Gnostics, yeah, if we read the Pistis Sophia, and in the Pistis Sophia, it is said that Sophia and Christ gave us somehow 30% more free will. Yeah. However, they did it. So,
maybe it was 33%. They were secret Freemasons.
Yeah. And human design would say that since the discovery of Uranus, we might have even more, because Pistis Sophia is like what? At least 1,500 years old or whatever.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I go ahead, finish.
Yeah, so I think there are things happening which give us more free will, because you see so clearly that we humans are different. And maybe one of the last things I want to say, human design has a brilliant perspective on this thing which you call Vetico in here, yeah, and your guests. And I love this concept of Vetico so much, because it makes so much sense. This parasitic mind, this thing which tortures you, yeah, since early teenage days, or basically since childhood. And what human design says is, and since human design, I come to peace with this idea, because it says it's like some kind of technology which we have gotten too early, like the internet, like social media. It's not inherently bad, but it's so powerful, and it has so many inherent traps that it can seem like some kind of Vetico, some kind of alien parasite. But the problem is only if you identify. The problem is only if you can't lean back, if you can't be the passenger in this vehicle. Then the problem of Vetico basically stops, yeah? But if you want to really control the mind and make decisions and control life with your mind, yeah, then it totally can seem, because this is our conditioning in school, right? We are the mind. If your mind doesn't work, you're basically fucked. You're no respected part of society anymore, because your mind is all you are, yeah? Human design says, no, this is not important. Decisions come from the body. Decisions come here from your heart center or sacral or holy guardian angel, whatever, and he's not here. Here is just inspiration and talking to others, and mostly it happens automatic, right? So, yeah. And then it's choiceless. This is so interesting. Human design, it describes all these paradoxes, because also if you follow your body, if you really understand what kind of intelligence your body has, it also becomes choiceless, right? Because when you are the witness, when you lean back, you understand your body intelligence, you just follow what your body wants to do. And then there's also the choicelessness, but you have chosen at some point. So you see, it's so complex problem, right? But what happens, and this was the point I wanted to make, sorry for the abstraction, that what happens is evolution. And human design says, at one time in the past, we were very strategic. So it was always like Roman Empire, so very strategic and
Right.
planning everything. And now we are in transitus. Yeah, so Homo sapiens in transitus, human design calls it. So some kind of intermediate stage where we learn to be more receptive, where the children, which are autistic nowadays, they are just a glimpse of what is going to come. So they seem so alien to us, but they are just so much more receptive because there's some process which totally changes how we work with all this information. Yeah. And this is what happens now, that we become much more what psychology would describe as right hemisphere based. Yeah. Much more receptive, less strategic. And this is the shift which is happening. Yeah. Where human design says 2027 is a year where we enter this cycle of the sleeping phoenix. Yeah. And I don't know about my confirmation bias, because here in my surroundings, I always see people like coming to me with economic cycles 2027 for whatever. I don't know. I'm very excited about it. Prophecies are always, take it with a grain of salt. But I see very much that, in 2027, it must not be, it doesn't have to be a big event. But it says then some kind of thing has evolved, yeah? So this human Homo sapiens in transitus might move closer to what human design calls, like what Nietzsche would have called Übermensch, yeah? Where you really have made peace with this Vetico. And I think Vetico is just this phenomenon of not being able to be the passenger, like the internet, like social media. It's such an amazing technology, but maybe evolution was too fast, even.
Well said indeed. Yes. Love it. Well, we are at the end. We better wrap it up. But for the audience, I'll put this on the show notes. Please visit Stephan's website on his alter ego, ellistansnowley.com, and check him out for sure.
This is where I give readings. And actually it's I also give Living Your Design courses. But irregularly. So you will be, but basically it's solo empowerment readings where I try to work much on the foundation of Ra, with a little bit of own heresy.
There you go. Well, awesome. Well, check it out. And it's been a great conversation. So first we will say goodbye to Graham. Graham, thanks for keeping us company on this journey.
Always fun and great to hear what Stephan had. Thank you.
Agreed.
Thanks for
agreed. Again, we talk in private. We talk in our Finding Hermes group, but it's great to catch you on this medium and share with the world this very cool system, which I'm obviously involved with. Talking to you and my wife, I'm already halfway in there.
Sleeping Phoenix will arise, great abundance in the skies.
It will. And as I tell everybody, as I like to repeat from Julian of Norwich, all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well, as long as you keep writing your own gospel and living your own myth. So keep doing what you're doing, everybody, and everything will be fine. And like I said, we've got David Block on Friday next week. You mentioned Watiko. Paul Levy's going to join us next week with his new book. So it's going to be a heavy hitter. And we got some, amazing guests too. A lot of shows next week on a lot of topics, Jung and addiction, quantum physics, a whole bunch. I said for the holidays, I'm bringing out all the gnosis. So I hope to see everybody there. And that's all I got. So for those of you who celebrate, please have a good Thanksgiving week and weekend. For everybody else, enjoy your own personal holiday. But we are at the end. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being yourself, your true self, here in the desert of the real. Take care, everybody.